Hey, what's up friends? You got Gypsy back here today with the CFA. It's been a cool minute since I uploaded one of these league matches, but we are back and we've got week 3 match up against a guy called Connor. Pretty good player from what I'd heard going into the season. He's one of my divisional opponents, so we'll be facing his team a couple of times during the season. And as you guys can see, this dude has a pretty threatening team. He also had stuff like Lando I, one of the biggest threats in draft, as well as Starmie on his team. But I'll be real with you guys. Like, Lando I is not really a big threat to my team. The biggest threat is actually Durant. Durant is a huge problem to my team. Having coverage to hit every single member on my team for super effective damage, including the mons that I've brought today. So, well, not I highly doubt he's going to run Thunderfang for his Emerald, but even so, Ironhead does a lot. Yeah, Durant is a big threat to my team, and it's sitting at a really nice speed tier as well, which is quite troublesome. But you know, we've got ways to work around that, and obviously he's got the Mega Gyarados there, which you guys can see in the middle, definitely a threat. But we do have Grotle chilling in the middle. This is Grotle's debut for all those, you know, all the doubters, all the haters. I didn't think Grotle was going to come through. Well, you know, we brought him here today just to prove you wrong. So he's also got Porygon Z, who's a pretty big threat, pretty big threat to my team, depending on its set. And depending on if he clicks the right buttons, if he specs, then he can kind of just get a kill. But it really just does depend how he plays it and what sort of set it is. Serperior is a threat if I wasn't Sapsip or Azumarill, so that's definitely something to take into consideration. But I'm going to go over my team real quick. We have defensive Sapsip or Azumarill. The reason being, defensive investment allows me to cripple the Gyarados to an extent with Toxic, to take on at least one hit from a Life Orb Durant. I can live an Ironhead guaranteed. I don't expect him to be packing Thunderfang. And I can take, like, if he's like Scarfed for example, which is pretty nice versus me. A Scarfed Durant outspeeding stuff like Scarf Thundy and such. Scarf Jirachi as well. So I can comfortably take X scissors and stuff if he's a Scarfarian or Superpowers or something like that. Having a mon to pivot into to determine the Durant is pretty important, because obviously, like, Grotle, as we'll get to, is a defensive set, but I'm not about to switch that recklessly on a Durant and try and catch that X scissor. It's just it's not going to end well. So yeah, defensive Azumarill is pretty nice this match, being able to eat up anything from this Serperior. I do have a bit of Sped F, really not needed, because Serperior cannot touch Azumarill, so that's basically Azumarill. Next up we have the Laddie, backing T-Bolt, Dragon Pulse, Roost and Defog. I would have loved to pack Ice Beam for Lando, but I needed a way of reliably hitting Lantern in case it was a Volt Absorb variant, which makes sense given that I've got a Thundy T. So yeah, I need Defog because he has the potential to stack hazards with Skarm. And T-Bolt is quite nice for stuff like his Skarmory, his Starmie, as well as his Mega Gyarados. So it also gives me a way of hitting Durant for a lot of damage, because Durant's special defense is Piss Poor. It's very low, so it's a guaranteed to occur even with minimal special attack investment. So that's Laddie. Nothing too crazy, unfortunately. It has to kind of perform a kind of utility role this game. Not going to be dealing too much damage, but an essential switch into Lando I. I was sort of banking on him, or I was sort of assuming that he'd bring a sort of a physical U-turning variant if he were to bring Lando, but as you guys can see, it hasn't even made an appearance, so that's one less big threat to worry about. But next up we have a physically defensive Carmine Jirachi. As I said, Durant's a massive threat. Marachi is packing HP Fire for the guaranteed Oko on Durant. I can live any hit, get a Carmine off, and get a Carmine off on stuff like Lantern, on stuff like Serperior. I got Side Shock. I got Side Shock to hit a Sped F Lantern for decent damage. Obviously I can boost up with Carmine. Unless he's got T-Wave, then we're looking pretty good, because his T-Bolt's going to be doing nothing. Volt Switch's Scald's not going to be doing anything, and I have Dazzling Gleam to hit the likes of Umbreon and Mega Gyarados for super effective damage. So obviously Mega Gyarados has a ton of Sped F. This Jirachi is kind of just, if he's in a situation where he's going to switch in Gyarados, Jirachi's role, if Durant is down, is really just to get a bit of chip off on the Gyarados. because I have multiple ways of checking Mega Gyarados as we move on with the team. So next up we have Defensive Grottle, aka the Gyarados check. It takes absolutely nothing from Gyarados' hits. It's crazy the way this thing tanks crunches from this monster. If you guys are interested, you can go and look up the calcs yourself. It's just quite amazing. But yeah, basically in my rock setter, I got Leech Seed for passive recovery, synthesis, and Seed Bomb for just solid stab against the Mega Gyarados and stuff like Lantern. Even the Porygon Z doesn't really appreciate Seed Bombs. Not to mention Starmie. Starmie can't really safely spin on my on my Grottle, because even if he is like packing Ice Beam, Grottle is really bulky, and I can proceed to synthesis up, wear him down with Seed Bombs. And I was expecting a offensive Starmie if he were to bring it, to which I do have Latios. Mega Latias is a pretty decent response to that. Next up we have Specs Lucario. Lucario here, looking at his team, I kind of undenied about. I actually made a few teams for this match. I really contemplated bringing Physical. I wanted to bring Physical Lucario. I contemplated Air Balloon at one point as a check to Lando with Ice Punch. What I kept on finding was that Scam, Fizdef Scam, even Spidef Scam, was a bit of an issue for my Lucario. Obviously Lucario sits at a pretty nice speed tier, being able to outspeed Mega Gyarados. What I really found though was Durant was a big hindrance to that set, because it resists. Durant's got pretty good defense, and it resists Lucario's extreme speed and bullet punch and such. So what I realized was Specs Lucario 2-KOs everything on his team. Vacuum Wave easily 2-KOs Durant. With a bit of chip, it OHKOs it. Comfortably 2-KOs Porygon, 2-KOs Mega Gyarados, Aura Sphere. Definitely 2-KOs any variant of the Skarmory, because of my special attack boosting nature with the Specs. And it obviously mercs Umbreon as well, which is pretty important. I've got Dark Pulse or Shadow Ball for Starmie in case he did bring it, but as you guys can see, he's elected not to. So pretty nice Lucario set. You don't really see Specs too much. You tend to see players favor more the physically offensive variant, and it's completely understandable because it is such a monstrous cleaner. But for this matchup, I just felt as though Specs could really come through, especially if Grottle somehow got weakened and Mega Gyarados was looking like a threat. Having that Specs Vacuum Wave in the back could be really clutch. So the last one on the team we have is Nasty Plot Thunders. I needed a way to break down a Spidef Lantern, so Specs Lucario could have an easier time versus his team, because this thing can actually stomach. If it is like a really bulky Spidef set, which would make sense given that I have a Thundy T, it can stomach Specs Lucario's hits quite nicely. So this guy here kind of wears down Lantern, or even breaks it if I get a nasty plot up. I've got the lefties for some nice recovery. Not letting rocks wear me down too much if I can't get rid of them. And look, this Thunderous is also quite nice for the Durant, because it forces him to hit Stone Edge. With Hustle, that's pretty unlikely, and he has to play mind games with my defensive Jirachi as well if he does want to click Stone Edge. I have like a pretty nice switch into Jirachi there, who can just fire off an HP fire the next turn. So I've gone on for a long time about the team, so I'm just going to jump to the match. Turn 1, he leads off with his Lantern as I lead off with my Thunderous. Now Thunderous versus Lantern is the matchup I want, but I'd rather be in this situation with a +2 up. So I'm going to switch out here, wanting to preserve the health of my Thunderous, because I know he's likely going to fire off an Ice Beam. He gets the crit there, no surprise. I'm just going to go for the Calm Head up here, as he opts to go for the Volt Switch, doing very little damage, as now he's going to go into his Gyarados. Now, I'm not about to sack off my Raichu, because as I mentioned, this is pretty pivotal to beating stuff like Durand. So I am going to go, just make the switch out, and go out into my Grottle right here, as he's going to Mega up and fire off the Crunch. He actually Earthquakes there. I think he was assuming my Azumarill would switch in, but he underestimated the power of Grottle in the back. So I'm just going to set my rocks up here as he goes out to his Skarmory. As he's going to get his own rocks up here, which is fine. I'm going to get my Thundy here. Now I realize this is a perfect time to set up a nasty plot, because he's kind of just looking at his team. It really does seem as though Lantern is his Spidef minus his answer to my Thundy, so I have no reason not to click Nasty Plot here. As he does make the switch out to his Lantern, and this is really nice. I can now spank it with a +2 Sludge Wave, which is going to 2-KO this range of health, because Thundy is just a monster. As you guys can see, Ice Beam doesn't do all that much damage, and I'm getting that nice lefties back, so he's going to sack it off here. I agree with that play. It really wasn't worth risking going out to anything else that really wanted to. He could have gone out to Durant on a sludge wave, I suppose, and had sped me next turn and killed me if he had Stone Edge, but really, that wasn't really too much of a reason to make a gutsy prediction like that, as Durant is so good versus my team. So he's going to go out into his Porygon here. I'm going to switch out to my Rachi, realizing this is most likely Scarf, as he brought it in on a +2 Thunderous, which naturally outspeeds Porygon, so yeah, it's Screaming Scarf. I doubt he's going to Dark Pulse because he needs to get the kill on Thundy, so we do just get that right. We go into Jirachi, and yeah, that does reveal to be Scarf damage, given that I am Fizz Def, not Spit F, so he's going to go into his Gyarados here, as I'm going to fire off the Dazzling Gleam, reason being, like, I'd shown the fact that it was a Carmine, he's going to want to put a stop to that, deter me from setting up and staying in, so I felt as though him making the switch out to Gyarados was his best play there, and you can see, like, I'm uninvested, and you know, I didn't think that was going to do too much at all, and Mega Gyarados is insanely bulky when it comes to Spit F, so that's only doing 27, but it's important because he takes one more round of Stealth Rock, and he's in range of Specs Vacuum Wave, so if he's an offensive spread, which I do believe he is, so it's looking pretty nice for us. He makes the double out to Grottle, out to Durant, trying to catch my Grottle, and that's fine. I'm just going to go out to my Azumarill here. As I mentioned, I am defensive, so I can take whatever he wanted to throw at me, but he opts to go for the Superpower here. I assume trying to catch my Lucario, trying to capitalize on an X Scissor prediction, but I do have the Azumarill on the back, and we take that pretty comfortably. As now he's going to switch out right here, not wanting to risk me taking him out with the Waterfall there, or something like that. I just go for the knockoff, just in case he wanted to go out to his Serperior, who would have eaten up the Scald. Knocking off items is always pretty nice, but he goes into his Scarm, and I get that Rocky Helmet damage, which, you know, it's not the best, but now I can just pretty comfortably fire for Scald here. If he did set up spikes, I do have Laddie to defog those, but to be honest, like, the Stealth Rocks are really nice for me, putting everything in range of Lucario, so I was pretty comfortable with him setting up spikes there anyway if he did want to opt to go for that move. So he's going to go out to Porygon here, as I'm just going to go out to my Rachi here on his Tri-Attack once more. I know I can live another hit from this range of health, and he's going to make the switch once again out to his Gyarados. The reason I went for Side Shock here was because I felt as though you know, his Porygon could live a hit from that range of health. He could live because I am uninvested, and I felt as though he might take this opportunity to just take out my Jirachi. As you know, he's down a mon, his team's getting weakened, he needs to start like making some plays right here, but he does go out to Gyarados once again, so this thing is going to die now to my Lucario's Vacuum Wave, so I'm fine with this, as I can now just switch back out to my defensive response in Grottle, as he goes for the Crunch. Only does 26%, as I can just heal up. This is so getting Grottle putting in that work, taking those hits like a boss. He's going to go for the Iron Head here with his Durant, which wouldn't have done too much because I am physically defensive, as he does miss. But you guys are going to see next turn he just takes me out with the X Scissor, so that's just how strong this thing is. That was a physically defensive Jirachi, but that was hustle boosted with Life Orb, so it's no surprise there. I'm going to go for the Vacuum Wave here. He stayed in, probably assuming that I was going to try and set up or something, or he could take me out with the Superpower. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he thought like I didn't realize he had Superpower or something like that, but Vacuum Wave is just going to take him out, as Serperior is going to come in here. I've no reason not to go out into my Azumarill. As he goes out into his Skarmory, not really sure what he was trying to kind of predict there. I would have probably thought Porygon was the play there, as now I don't have a switch into Tri-Attack if he was predicting me to switch out to Azumarill, so not quite sure what that was, but he's just going to set up spikes here, which is fine, as I'm just going to go for the T-Bolt and take out the Skarm. So yeah, Thundy, Lucario's job looking even easier at this point. He's going to make the switch out to his Gyarados, trying to capitalize once again. I'm not sure on. I've shown this to be, well, this is obviously Sap Sipper. I've shown Scald, knockoff Toxic, so it's not huge power. If he was trying to bait me into switching into Azumarill, then I think once again Porygon would have been the play, but I'm not quite sure. I don't really understand his thought process there. I'm just going to fire off a Dragon Pulse, as I know that he couldn't have been able to kill me even if he'd gone for the Leaf Storm and got the special attack raise the next turn. He wouldn't have been able to take me out with +2 Dragon Pulse because Mega Lady is so bulky. So I'd really lost nothing by staying here and removing the Serperior. Reason being, like, if I remove the Serperior, or at least put it in range, like say he crits me on the second Dragon Pulse, he's guaranteed in range of Specs, Vacuum Wave, and Lucario just wins at that point anyway. So I lost nothing by even sacking Laddie there, which wouldn't have even happened because it's so bulky. But nonetheless, I'm just going to take out Gyarados here with the Dragon Pulse. And in comes the Serperior. You're going to see what I mean right here, as Leaf Storm only does 16. So it was a 2k with Dragon Pulse anyway. Dragon Pulse fails to take me out, as now his last one is that Scarf Porygon, as we can just sack off the Laddie here to the Porygon and revenge with Lucario. So I could have taken the hit with Lucario and preserved the 5-0, but there's no point. Like, if he somehow crit me, that would have been pretty lame, and I could have somehow got frozen with Grottle and like lost. It just wasn't worth it. So that was a match. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, I know this is a bit late going up, but I've just been pretty busy and I had other priorities, so hope you guys can understand that. If you guys did enjoy the battle, leave a like and let me know what you guys thought of the match. And if you guys were hyped to see Grottle come and would like to see him come in future matches, let me know. I've had some trades throughout the season, so I will be discussing them as I upload my future matches. So if you guys look forward to that, and yeah, if you guys aren't already subbed to my channel and you would like to see more Draft League content, I will be continuing to upload that, and I would appreciate you guys if you wanted to subscribe. Obviously with Sun and Moon coming, you know, draft is going to take a little bit of time off until the draft meta can kind of become established. I know the NPL is going to be starting back up again, most likely in December, so a little bit of time, a little bit of break off, and then we'll be right back into it. And you best believe your boy Gypsy is going to be in the thick of it. I'm really looking forward to it and experimenting with all the new mons, so yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you did enjoy, click that like button, and thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.